Extravaganza. My name is Tony Kwalanda. Thank you very much indeed for making time. This is live every Saturday, all day from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. This is the best place you can get the best sports cuisine. We serve you sports from across our borders in Africa, across African borders, and of course everywhere. And of course we bring you all different kinds of sports: rugby, football, swimming, wrestling, weightlifting, kabaddi. All those kind of sports, of course, you can always find them here on this great show. Stick around, of course. We have a host of guests that are very important to you. They need to know what's happening. Of course, I have rugby, I have football, I have also matters to do with what's happening in the UEFA Champions League. Welcome. You know how we do it? We always have a question of the day where we want to engage with us, talk to us, call us, tweet us. You can voice note us, you can WhatsApp us, you can engage us on all our social media platforms. We have our question of the day. We are asking you, remember tomorrow there is a big football game that is coming and morphing to become sort of like a Nyanza derby. Shabana FC will be hosting the defending champions of the top flight league, Gor Mahia. And we are asking you, what is your prediction for the Shabana versus Gor Mahia top flight game on Sunday? That is tomorrow. What is your prediction for the Shabana versus Gor Mahia top flight game to be played tomorrow? Talk to us on all our social media platforms. The numbers to call, you'll see them below your screen. You know how we do it, of course. You can call us in live as well. Now, talking about matters of football, this particular afternoon, we are very honored and privileged to be hosting, let me get it very correctly, the Iranian ambassador to Kenya, or if you like, the ambassador of Iran to Kenya, and that is His Excellency Dr. Ali Gholampur. Your Excellency, I have tried to say it right.
Yeah, that's the pronunciation, exact pronunciation.
Yes, His Excellency Dr. Ali Gholampur, who is, of course, the Iranian ambassador to Kenya, who, of course, we're privileged to be hosting him this particular afternoon. And it's very, it's information that, of course, you already know that Iran has already qualified for, yes, you guessed it right, for the 2026 Football FIFA World Cup. It will be held, of course, in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. So we, of course, the ambassador is here to share with us what is making Iran having qualified. And of course, I have statistics about Iran. Let me just share about Iran. Now, Iran has been to, now this, after qualifying this particular time, is their fourth consecutive qualification for the World Cup finals. They have been there since they have played in the 1978 World Cup, 1998 World Cup, 2006 World Cup, 2014 World Cup in Brazil. They were in Russia in 2018. They were in Qatar in 2022. In 2026 also, they are in the World Cup. And of course, that's why the Excellency is here. And that's why I'll ask Your Excellency, just let's quickly get into it. Which sport are you a fan of? Which sport do you love? Like for me, I love football. I love playing golf. I love watching golf. Which is your sport that you like, Your Excellency?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most compassionate, the most graceful. Thank you for having us in your lovely program.
Welcome.
And my greetings to your lovely, good audience.
Thank you.
In front of your
Thank you.
People and fans to the TV programs.
Welcome.
Yeah, you know, as you mentioned, Iran was really performed very well and qualified very soon at the earliest stage of the, qualification matches.
Yes.
And so very fortunately they qualified as the third national football team who were qualified to get into the World Cup in North America,
yes.
Canada, US, and Mexico. It happened because, in Iran, football, like yours, like in Kenya, that I know how people are, when it's a football match between your clubs at the national level, a large crowd goes for watching and following very enthusiastically. Yes. In Iran, it's the same, and football is very popular, very large spectacular, the most popular spectaculars sport that we do have in Iran. And because of that importance, and because it's in the middle of the daily lives of any person, especially youth.
Yes.
And nowadays, in addition to the youth, the male is for the women's at the same time. They planned very well. They this time they recruited an Iranian coach, and the Iranian coach was very successful, and we had very good results during the qualification matches and races. And so now we are in there, as you mentioned, at the fourth consecutive term that we are in World Cup.
Well, and of course, well done on that, and congratulations. Of course, there are so many lessons Kenya needs to learn from, of course, from Iran. We have actually played several matches. Our national team has played, of course, with Iran. We shall engage that a bit later. I was looking, just before I get into the rich history of sports in Iran, just before we went on air, you mentioned about your son loving Arsenal Football Club. Yourself, so that if your son loves Arsenal, so you're part of Arsenal, because I'm sure he's watching, and he's going to listen if you also love Arsenal. Yeah, yeah. And what do you think about their performance in the Champions League? It's
sometimes very hard to, to choose between, Champions League or the La Liga or... my son is a fan of the Chelsea. It was before, but nowadays it's just moved to Arsenal. And it's very exciting in Champions League matches. Yes. But personally, I'm not shy to say that I'm mostly, inclined to be a fan to Barcelona and Real Madrid. Yes. But sorry for saying that. No, I love Barcelona. It's personal preference, yeah. Yes. But it's at international level. But at the national level, of course, I'm the most, enthusiastic and zine to be a fan to national football team of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And I love it. Indeed, yeah. Very well. Of course, I'm a fan of course, Barcelona. Yeah. I'm a fan of Chelsea. So, of course, if I was watching with your son, you can imagine how that would be. Yeah. Remember, tomorrow, of course, Chelsea is playing against Liverpool. It's a big game tomorrow in the Premier League. Your Excellency, Iran is very rich in, we're just looking at your history. I understand polo is a sport that actually originated from Iran. But of course, some of your rich sports, cultural sports, traditional sports, I'm looking at, of course, sports like wrestling, football being part of it. I was also looking at skiing, sports that have been there traditionally. How important are these sports to the Iranian society? Iran is actually very rich in ritual and ancient sports in many different fields. As one example, you mentioned just polo games. It is just established and started from Persia at that time. Currently Iran, we name it. It was around almost 5th century before BC. BC, and then after 1 century in AD. And it was established and started in Iran. And then after, during the last centuries, it moved to India, and from India it was moved to England and the UK. And now it's really, it's very popular and a very entertaining field for sport. Iran was for that. And we have, beside that, we have another ritual for board games, board games, especially backgammon. Yep. Backgammon is an Iranian kind of board game. Okay, yes. And Iranians are very professional in backgammon. And chess is, of course, chess was not originating from Iran, but initially backgammon was created by Iranians to compete with the chess that was coming from India at that time. So, it was a kind of interactions, civilization interactions between two countries, ancient countries. Mm-hmm. But one of the most important sports in Iran, in terms of rituals and ancient rituals, was, we call it the sport of Zurkhane and Pahlavani. So it was like, a martial practice, martial sport, exercise. And the tools that they use for bodybuilding, for shaping, for training, was a symbol resembling, kinds of guns that time were used for fighting in the wars, in the battlefields, and here and there. And nowadays this continued. And nowadays we have more than around or over 500 places. It's like, arena, indoor kind of salons or halls that they perform their exercises, they practice. Yes. For Zurkhane, or we call it. Zur means power, strength.
Yes.
And Khane means place. So it was like a place that all the athletes at that time, athletics, came together to exercise. Yeah. And as far as I know, few Kenyans have been trained for that Zurkhane. And now they are in Kenya, then they know that knowledge, they have that skills, and they can also transfer that to those who are interested for that. So these are the, the Iranian-originated sports. However, in Iran, traditionally and over the history, it has been a culture for horse riding, for shooting, for archery, the swimming. These are the sports that it was popular throughout the history. But of course, wrestling you mentioned, freestyle mentioned, especially freestyle. But of course, Greek is one nowadays getting much better. And as you know, Iran is ranked at the first, at the top, or the second, or the third in wrestling. And nowadays, we have very good records in other sports fields worldwide. Football, you mentioned. Right now, we are ranking 18th worldwide rank by FIFA. For volleyball, we are 15 worldwide. For futsal, it's indoor football. We are 5th rank. Wow. In now today, just I think within 1 hour or 2 hours, we will have the second match for World Cup for beach. Or sand football. And Iran is ranked for 5th even for that. And it's one of the most front runners to be the champion for this time, 2025. Yes. Of course, basketball is very well, and in martial sports, that's taekwondo, in boxing, in powerlifting, in Iran is very well known in the world. And very recently we had Hadi Chupan, if you have heard. He was, for once, he won the medal gold for bodybuilding in US. And this year was the second after the Nigerian bodybuilder. These are the fields that Iranians are working very good. And it has happened because after the revolution, almost over the 45 years, our government has planned very good to expand the sport, to bring it to the daily lives of people and ordinary people, into the offices, into the organizations, work places, and to schools, universities, and even to the military forces. And they increased the budget. They allocated enough budget for sport. They created, and they increased the number of federations in Iran from 21 before the revolution to 51. Nowadays we have 51 federations. And we have over 15,000 committees, sport committees at local and provinces. So in terms of the personnel, in terms of the trainers, in terms of the experts, and the budget, so they really to invest it significantly for that purpose, and the results is well. And especially for the women's sports. The women, exactly. As I'm just talking to you now, it's at the youth, the youth powerlifting competitions.
Yes.
Now it's going, I think it's in Latin America, it's a pro, I think. It's in pro.
Yes.
And just today, one Iranian girl just won one silver and one bronze medal for powerlifting. We had also one gold winner in Olympic.
Yes,
a lady for taekwondo. So it's very really spreading over, and it's now very public. Sport is as a priority, has been followed, and we have got very good results.
And then, of course, as you've mentioned, even the women, I'm looking at currently the number of athletes, women or ladies who are participating in sports has increased, I think, by maybe 3 times or 4. I'm looking at the statistics that I saw just recently. 1.4 million women are currently involved in sports. Why did you take that direction? Of course, from the past now compared to now, the huge number of women now who are in sports and, of course, who are putting the flag of Iran to the world.
Yeah, of course. Women are at least half of the society. And they are our mothers, they are our sisters and girls, at social level, the women's nowadays plays very, bold and highlighted role in the society, in management, in industry, in innovative, in startups, at university levels, at political stage. So it's, a kind of the policy. It's not a policy. It's like a dynamism of the society that gives that sort of empowerment to women. So nowadays, women's and men's are at the same spectrum, and they can realize their abilities to bring at the best of art their abilities and their intrinsics. Especially in arts and sport. And why now you see that in sports, Iran is getting better and better and better.
Indeed, very true. And of course, you had mentioned that Kenyans, there's already an exchange program or a cultural exchange sort of in sport and culture as well between Iran and Kenya. Maybe some of the notable, you've mentioned some, but some of the notable exchange programs, because I'm sure for the benefit of the viewer who's watching and who will be very interested maybe to learn some things like kabaddi or freestyle wrestling or polo, on those things. Some of the things that a Kenyan can tap into in case they really are interested in getting to learn sports in Iran.
Yeah, as ambassador, I can say and assure you that my government is much willing to put solid basis for mutual cooperation and interactions between Kenyan and Iranians. We have our points of interest, strengths. There are points of interest in strengths in Kenya. In Kenya, especially in long distance running, athletics are, at the top.
Yes.
Well known for everybody, and that's really commendable. For many other sports, football is one of the among those. And in Iran, we have wrestling, as you mentioned. We have volleyball nowadays, swimming, powerlifting, polo, and Zurkhane, as I mentioned. So we can create grounds for mutual interactions and exchanges. Fortunately, I'm glad to report to you that right now we have 2 footballists from Kenya, from your national team. They are playing in Iranian clubs. One club is Istiqlal, which is very old and very popular in Iran, one of the most important clubs in terms of fans and supporters. Masoud Joma is playing, and there is another footballist who is playing at the League of Iran, Iranian League. And they have performed very well, very good. And so that's one grant that we can work on. We can have more, let's say, sportsmen and women in Iran. And I had, very recently, I had a meeting with the head of or the chairman of your football federation
yeah,
very recently at our premises in Nairobi. And we had very good conversation together. We reviewed all the grounds and areas for cooperation, and we came to this conclusion that there are very rich grounds that we can harvest if we just show our willingness and come together for that sort of cooperation. And we are working for that, for football. But we can extend it to wrestling, we can extend it to polo and other branches. And I'm thinking if we can also host Iranian clubs or national team to come to Kenya. Yes. You have almost one of the best weathers in the world. Yes. The climate, the typology is exemplar. So our national teams, they can come here and they have their camps for training. So that's something that we are working. And if you remember, I think your recollection will help us, that we had a football match, a friendly football match between Iranian national team and your national team in 2023. Correct. That's 2 years ago. And it happened in Iran. So we can have, not only for football, we can have it for volleyball, because volleyball, especially women volleyball, ladies, and at the best of my recollection, Kenyan national volleyball has been for 13 times champion of Africa.
Africa, correct.
So, wow, that's great. So why we don't put that sort of cooperation or interaction and engagement between our national football team of women with the Kenyan national football team for volleyball? It can happen for basketball, it can happen for futsal. As I told you, futsal and beach football Iran is really amazing. So we can work on these areas. There are many other areas as well.
Indeed, of course. I'm looking at an array of the kind of sports that you are good in. If you're joining us, I have the Iranian ambassador to Kenya, His Excellency Dr. Ali Holampur.
Sorry.
No problem. I need to. I'm not supposed to apologize.
It's a bit challenging.
We are here, of course, on Sports Extravaganza, speaking about, of course, sports and the relations between Iran and Kenya on matters sports. And look at Iran. Iran is good in football, basketball, weightlifting, kabaddi. Kabaddi, where, of course, we're making a lot of inroads into kabaddi, skiing, martial arts. Hiking, because of course Iran is mountainous, is blessed with some of the best mountains, and they're good in that sport. Your Excellency, you didn't mention that about hiking. You don't like hiking? Of course, I'll ask you that a bit. Volleyball, tennis. Tell us about that. Iran is beautiful in terms of the mountains. Yeah, you're good in hiking and all those kind of sports.
Yeah, exactly. For hiking, just you mentioned, I used to go to mountain because I live in Tehran. I'm very close to the mountain area. And every weekend I go to mountain. And if you go, because I was just talking with Your Excellency, the Ambassador of Kenya in Tehran, he was recently posted to Iran, designated as ambassador. And I chat with him, and he told me that, look, every weekend that I'm going to the mountain, crowds of people, families, children, women, men, and at different ages. They come to mountain and they climbing, they hiking. That was one of the most interesting hobbies for me when I used to be in Tehran. And I myself, I have, I got, the peaks of many mountains in Iran, several peaks, over 5,000 meters, from the sea level. Iran is a mountainous. There are many peaks over 5,000 meters.
Wow.
And as you mentioned, ski is one of the best sports in Iran, but a bit expensive. I don't recommend it to everybody because it's really expensive.
You have many ski resorts in
But we do have, and people can go and enjoy and have their ski and the snow sports or winter, let's say, sports. But you mentioned kabaddi. Kabaddi it's an Iranian origin entertainment, and we do have very strong national teams for kabaddis, and we can all work for that person. These are all the fields of activity. But personally, when I was young at high school, I started my training in bicycling. So.
Yes.
And at that time, I was successful to get into the province team, because in Iran, provinces we have, and each province has its own team, and then it's like an elite team for each province. And I was there professionally. I was working. Wow. But then after I left my hometown, got into the university, I just put it aside. But always I'm very much, disappointed why I just left it aside. I could continue, but that was amazing. That experience. I have had my own practices and sports in different fields. Martials. I was in taekwondo, in karate. In Iran, karate is very strong. Yes. And in boxing as well.
Boxing.
But personally, most of the time I used to go for swimming, and I play table tennis as well as chess. These are my hobbies and sports. In chess, I'm just calling for rivalries. I can compete. But for swimming, I'm doing
You're so
well.
good in that. Yeah, you're a sports person completely. I'm very honored to have my fellows.
But still, I'm young. I'm not that old.
What are some of the upcoming sports collaborations between Kenya and Iran? Because you've mentioned, of course, you already had a meeting with the president of our football federation, that is Hussein Mohammed, who has been doing a lot of inroads and collaborations. Recently, he was in Morocco. He was in different countries trying to cement that kind of relationship, so at least Kenya can learn from these developed countries. Yeah. Any other collaborations that you see that Iran and Kenya are looking forward in this immediate future or in the long-term future?
For immediate future, we are planning, but not. I cannot say for a certain point in time or a very near future. Football is one of the fields that I'm looking. The volleyball, women volleyball is another one for kabaddi, but for it depends. It depends on the Kenyan side. What if they are wishing, we can also arrange for our wrestling federation.
Yes.
For trainers to come and training the trainers, or having your trainers in Iran, or we can have their camps in Iran. So these are the most immediate ideas that we have, but we can plan for future, for long run, for other grounds. And from our side, what we are in demand is specifically for running sports.
Don't worry, we'll welcome you. We need to go. Our athletes need to go to Iran and enjoy those lovely mountains. You need to come to Kenya and go to our high altitude training areas. And just a very short answer to this: how easy is it for a Kenyan to go to Iran? Because I'm sure someone who's watching, they're like, Iran? How do I get to Iran? How easy is it to get to Iran? I'm sure someone is watching and they'll be very interested in that. Of course.
So there are different types of travel to Iran. If, for example, if they are engaging in sports or in cultural activities, we have our cultural center in Kenya, in Nairobi. Very simply, they can just contact them and they will arrange for them some sort of activities and define, will plan for them. Yes. And then for visa issuance, that's not that difficult. They can apply on the website, and then embassy will issue for them the visa. So that's very easy, and then it takes it's a matter of a few days, not more than a week. Indeed. Most of the time it's less than that. But if they are businessmen or if they are, for going for tourism and leisure, so that's something else. They can easily and very just log into the website, apply for visa, and then our embassy here in Nairobi would be honored and privileged to issue that visa. That's very easy. That's not that difficult.
Thank you, Excellency. And also, Iran is well known also for having some of the best sports infrastructure. that we have in the world. I mean, if you can actually qualify for the World Cup, it means you have the best. I'm looking at Azadi Stadium, where your team cemented their qualification for the World Cup when they drew against Uzbekistan. I'm sure you have an array of other facilities in Iran. What makes you stand out? I mean, in the Asian countries, as you know, having some of the best facilities that has actually enabled you stand out in these sports.
You know, after revolution, Iran has been under severe sanctions, illegal unilateral coercive measures and sanctions by few certain countries, politically motivated. But despite that fact, Iran has invested significantly for sport, as I mentioned, and especially for budgeting. And my government has allocated sufficient amounts of budgets, fundings for sports. And as a result, we were able to, having very good, promising results. You know, as I mentioned to you, nowadays from 21 federations, we reached to 51 federations.
Yes.
In terms of the trainers, the number is very numerous. In terms of the universities and the centers that they teach, or it's scientific teaching of sports. Iran is very strong. Many universities nowadays, they have around, let's say, more than 30 fields or grounds of sciences they teach at the university level. And just here, I take the time and opportunity, I seize the opportunity to mention and remind that we have a program of scholarship for all different types of university fields and branches, and including sports. So from here, I just seize this opportunity to announce that we are ready to extend scholarship to those youths that are interested and volunteer to go to Iran and study. So that gives also a very good opportunity for kind of learning, picking and bringing, in terms of the exchange for sport between two countries. But in terms of infrastructure, just as you mentioned, after revolution, we, of course, Azadi Stadium was built before revolution, but after revolution, we have constructed too many other stadiums, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 capacity of audience, mainly in the big cities. And of course, in small towns, we have constructed. And as mentioned, nowadays, we have 15,000 committees, sports committees from each city, and so 15,000 is a really huge number. And they have their own, budget. They have their own programs. Really, we have invested and spent a lot of energy, time, and personnel for that purpose, and the results are there. But we need to differentiate between two things, and one is the sports for championship, the sports for public health. And in Iran, the orientation has been mainly focused for public health. Nowadays, we have a lot of programs for bringing sports to the daily lives of people. For sport is one important tool for healthy living. And for most of the time treatment the diseases, sicknesses, all the nerve pressures and things like that. So, and also if you look at from the cultural angle and point, so that's also a very important cultural aspect of our life, because as you mentioned and in the beginning of our conversation, sport traditionally has been in Iran, and it was a part of our life and our culture and different levels.
Well done on that. And of course, you've hosted, I was looking at your past history, you've hosted some notable high-profile tournaments, championships, races, and you continue to do that. What makes you stand out as Iran?
Of course, we know Iran has, despite all the constraints, especially financial constraints. Iran has hosted many international tournaments for volleyball, for football, for wrestling, and many other Islamic countries, festivals, sports festivals. And we are continuing for that.
Yes.
This is one thing, and the other thing is that we have put in place channels for cooperation with many other countries. For football, for example, we use coaches from other countries who are rich in football. We also lend our trainers in wrestling to other countries. So this exchange can help us. And for volleyball also, we have been privileged to use and to have the expertise and knowledge and skills from other countries through such kind of interactions and cooperations, especially for having trainers in Iran. We are ready to expand such and put in place such channel of cooperation, mutual cooperation between Iran and Kenya. But we need some sort of support from both governments. From our side, we are ready. I'm just on behalf of my government, I'm happy to raise this. But of course, we need a hand to be extended from the government of Kenya, that we have been privileged for that, and of course we are expecting to have much more readiness for that. And I hope that we can have it soon and with good news, inshallah.
Of course, it will be, inshallah.
Thank you.
I was also looking at your local football league. Your football league. I was looking at the team that is currently at the top. I don't know if it's called Tractor.
Oh yeah, Tractor. Tractor, is for agriculture.
Yes, and yesterday I think Tractor won 4-0 in their local league. About that, tell us about why is it called Tractor? I'm so ignorant. Forgive me for being ignorant, but why is the team called Tractor? And as you speak about it, you can also share about how Kenya's. Of course, before you came here, we talked about how Kenya is performing in the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations.
Yeah, exactly. It's a model of funding and supporting in terms of logistics for football teams. In Iran, factories or companies who have their enough funds, they are willing to, showcase themselves as publications. They come and, they, through a contract, they take the sponsorship for that football team at different levels. And Tractor is, a factory, a company who produces tractors for agriculture, agriculture machine. And it's the history of that company back is hundreds of years ago. It's a very old company in Iran, and now it is very qualified in terms of technology. We export tractors. In the past, we used to export a few of tractors to Kenya. So that's a very well-known company in Iran, very old one. And it was almost, for 50 years that since the establishment of this football team, Tractor, which is in the north western part of Iran, in Tabriz especially. Tabriz is the center of the Azerbaijan province, eastern Azerbaijan province in Iran. Okay. And so after, 50 years of not being able to, despite the fact that you have been deserved for that, champions, but this year it happened for the first time in their history. And it was really a milestone it was a very exciting thing that happened last night for the people in our cities in that part of Iran. And people demonstrated and gathered on the streets. They have their own celebrations, cheerful. That was amazing. And so they are happy, we are happy, and that's great. That's the story of Tractor. It's interesting,
Well, then, of course, and Tractor is at the top of the top flight league in Iran currently. I think they have played about 28 matches. So Tractor and our local team, who are the champions, Gor Mahia, that's exactly. So Tractor is the Gor Mahia of Iran. So I'm trying to make this palatable for my audience to understand. So actually they play that. And we talked about our under-20 national team, that is Rising Stars, who are in Cairo, playing the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations. And of course, I was telling you the other day, Morocco beat us 3-2. In fact, that game, in my own opinion, I'm biased, I'll be biased, I'll say maybe the officiating was off, but we put up a spirited fight, and you said Kenya has actually improved from what you said. Yeah.
To me, because we have the experience to have such matches with Moroccan national teams. Yes. in World Cup we had. Of course, we scored and we won that game, but they have very strong national team. Very honestly, Morocco is very strong. And the way that you have conducted, your national team has scored 2 goals against Morocco. It's commendable. I praise that. Yes. And I think it shows that your national team, especially at the age under 18, under 20, is looming. They will have more prosperous future, and they will get much better results. And I hope that if you continue with focused programming for them, you will get it. You will get at the top levels in at least in Africa, if not beyond. But of course, it goes beyond that.
Indeed. And of course, even our under 17 team last year played in the World Cup in the Dominican Republic. Yeah. That's we call them the Junior Starlets, our under 17. So at least there is a lot of improvement. Sure. It's just that this year it's unfortunate our under 17 did manage, because we went up against very strong Cameroonian side, with the West African teams in Cameroon. Your Excellency, of course, as we come almost to the end of this particular conversation, I know we can have this conversation for long, because there's a lot that Kenya and Iran actually have been doing. I will not go away minus not asking you how the Champions League is. You are a fan of Barcelona, you mentioned. Okay. Barcelona is, of course, has 1-0. Actually, they are playing against Inter in the next round to qualify for the final. Yeah. What are the chances of Barcelona? I know you support them, but looking at how Inter Milan were up against...
you mentioned Inter Milan. Now we have our attacker, Mahdi Taremi. He just transferred from Porto, and in Porto he was very successful, and now he's playing for Inter. Yes. So that's very important to see that Inter is will be successful, because our national football team attacker is playing for Inter. Yes. But they played amazing. They draw 3-3, in the first leg, the first leg of their match. And so I think that would be also a very beautiful match again to follow, especially for myself. I'm from one side fan to Barcelona. We have our footballist in Inter. So that's amazing. That's something that I'm looking forward to watch it. That's interesting. To follow it.
One of your national players is in Inter, and then of course you're at Barcelona. That'll be very interesting next week. Yeah. And of course, just to let you know also, the vice president to our president of our football federation, that is McDonald Mariga, once upon a time played for Inter Milan and actually won the Champions League with Inter Milan. So Kenyans also, we have a soft spot for Inter Milan, besides us supporting Barcelona. Yeah, so that's basically, as we end up, of course, Your Excellency, what are you looking forward to? Some of the great sports that you're looking forward to this particular season as a country, which are they? Of course, there's beach soccer, there's the beach World Cup that is happening right now. Of course, I know you have other big tournaments that you're looking forward to.
Yeah, before touching that issue, allow me to mention that I'm also looking forward to be a fan for, just to go to a stadium and watching the football match between your clubs.
Yes, Gor Mahia
and FC La Paz. That's amazing. I'm looking forward.
Yes.
Because we have also such competition rivalries between our teams, especially from the same cities.
Yes.
But for at national events and national teams, as you mentioned today, our football beach, so sand football has a second round of game or match with Ecuador. and Ecuador is very strong.
So,
Yeah, but Iran is also strong, and I think
Yes.
it would be also very exciting match, and I hope Iran will be the winner. That's my hope.
Yes.
And you know, Iran in futsal and in beach football has been, in futsal, Iran has been 15 times champion of Asia, 15 times, and for beach several times. So that's why I hope that they will get it. For volleyball, it's going to the international league.
Yes.
Volleyball is going to be started, and Iran is among the 15 strong volleyball teams that participating in those tournaments.
Yes.
And I also wish for them. And of course, I'm looking forward to witness very soon a new round of football matches friendly with national teams of Kenya to get here or in Iran, inshallah, soon.
Very well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so
very
much
for
having me here. Lovely program.
No, thank you so much. You're
Okay.
most welcome.
Thank
This should
you
be
so-
the first amongst many, Your Excellency.
Sorry.
Please feel much welcome to TV
Of
47.
course.
We have our Radio 47 with our digital teams. We can, of course, have also our bilateral relations between our
Of
TV
course.
station
Of
and your
course.
embassy here in Nairobi.
Inshallah.
And of course, you came with Dr. Ali
Yeah,
Pourmajan.
yeah, Pourmajan.
Pourmajan.
Our
The cultural counselor,
Cultural
at the
counselor,
Embassy
yeah.
of Iran.
Yeah.
Dr. Ali, thank you very much. Wherever, I know you're watching. Dr. Ali is in
Yeah.
studio there, but he was just watching from behind the scenes. Of course, the entire embassy of Iran in Nairobi, we appreciate that you allowed Excellency to really come over here and share the insights, of course, about the relations and the cultural exchanges between Iran and Kenya. And thank you really for shedding light about what is already happening and what is we're looking forward to. So the borders of Iran are open to you.
Of course.
There is a lot of sports that you can participate in, not only football, several. So go into their website, start that particular relationship. They are very welcoming. Your Excellency,
Appreciating.
thank you so much really for making time.
Appreciate it.
We don't take it for granted. We appreciate
Thank
you
you.
made time for Sports
Thank you so much.
Extravaganza. And please welcome. Next time, Dr. Ali Pourmajan will be also on our set. Today, he requested not to be here. But Dr. Ali, where you are, please, next, you need to be in our set as well to share the wealth of knowledge that we have with, of course, the rest of the Kenyans. So, Your Excellency, we appreciate, enjoy your afternoon. And tomorrow, Shabana, one of the top teams currently in our top flight league football, is playing against Gor Mahia. Gor Mahia is like tractor in your country.
Yeah.
And it's a big game because these are two clubs that come from the same region or same province.
Wow.
Or the same city, so to
Same
speak.
city, yeah.
So it's a very interesting game, though it will be away out of
Yeah.
Nairobi, but I'm sure you'll get to hear about it. So
Great.
thank you so much for making
Pleasure.
time.
Thank you so much.
This is Sports Extravaganza. We are going to take a very, very, very short break. But up next, we'll be having Kayole Starlets as well as the Kenya Commercial Bank rugby team to share about how their season was. Don't go away. We are taking this short break. We're back in a bit.